get after it.
Keith Taylor. Here. Keith Austin. Bill England.
Here.
Jack Baker.
Hang on, whatever it is.
Harley Buzzard.
Here.
Joe Bird.
Honey.
Sean Crittenden.
Honey.
Don Garvin. Brenda Hargis.
Here.
Wanda Hatfield.
Honey.
Rex Jordan.
Here.
Dick Lay.
Here.
Curtis Snell.
Here.
David Thornton. Victoria Vasquez.
Sir.
Dave Walkenstick. Brian.
Honey.
Leave it there.
It was warm. I should drink.
Did you say we have four? Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're here today to take a look at the 2017 budget for the Cherokee Nation. And this is a good time for us to dig in and just really appreciate what we are doing for our people. And every year we take a look at it and evaluate the programs that we offer, see if the programs still fit, see if they don't fit. Some of them need to be propped up a little bit with a little bit more allocation of funds. Some of them maybe we need to drop off. And so it's good for us to go through it and look at all those things. So we're going to start off with just an overview of the budget with our treasurer, Lacey Moore.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm having some technical difficulties here with the presentation. As you can see, it's not up on your screen, but you do have it in front of you. We've got two computers, but nothing's hooked up yet, so if it's okay with you, can we just go off the hard copy? Sure.
I'll be for your shirt at. What's where your black fancy shirt?
Okay, Jesse was going to present on the screen, so we'll just go through it. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Honored to be here today to present the Principal Chief's proposed budget for fiscal year 2017. I've prepared a presentation's budget preparation process. Check this presentation in full and take any unanswered questions that you may have. So on the first page, you'll see the 24 departments that which fiscal year 17's budget consists of. Departments include tribal government, service departments, resource departments, and boards and commissions. The numbers assigned to each department will correspond to your white budget books. As you can see, the numbered departments are not consecutive, and we don't have departments with numbers 16, 21, or 22 in this budget. In late fiscal year 16, the Secretary of Natural Resources Department number 27 was at 27. The next comprehensive budget, $0.3 million, and a capital budget of $277.7 million. The two budgets combined create a total comprehensive budget amount of $934 million. To be more specific, this is the nation's largest ever beginning of the year budget. And I will also note that during FY17, we will redeem the remaining outstanding 2006 healthcare bonds that were used for the Muskogee Joint Venture Project and other clinic-related projects. On the next page, I'll take you through the revenue assumptions. The 10-year tables you will see are consistent with those that have been presented to Tribal Council in prior years. And this general fund table gives an overview of Gen Fund, which is the primary topic of Council's discussion today. The orange line reflects budgeted sources and includes tribally funded sources of revenue, including business dividends and tax revenue. The blue line reflects budgeted uses, and the red line is the net effect. In this proposed budget, all general fund sources have a corresponding use, and in other words, it's a balanced budget. The next page shows grants, compacts, and tribal revenues. Grants and compacts revenue, the red line, shows a slight reduction of $1.6 million. This is due to multiple small grants ending in FY16. Tribal revenue, the blue line below, increased $171.5 million as a result of a $160.5 million increase in planning and development's budget that is mainly due to the loan for the Tahlequah joint venture construction, a $2.3 million addition for the landfill, a $5.9 million increase in financial operations as a result of debt for construction, offset by the 2014 contract health service settlement funds being fully budgeted in FY16, a a $2.0 million increase in highway construction and roads, and $800,000 focused on new programs and service improvements. On the next page, we have tax revenue, which includes motor fuels tax, tobacco, other tax, and motor vehicle taxes. Estimates for FY17 include $7.9 million in motor fuels, $13.8 million in motor vehicle taxes, and $15.8 million in tobacco other taxes. The increase in motor vehicle tax revenues, the blue line, is a result of the TAG compact, with the state of Oklahoma being expanded statewide and continuing increases in revenues there. Motor fuels tax, the green line, remains flat this year, and we are also expecting a decrease in tobacco taxes due to decline in sales. The next page gives a trend analysis for dividends. Dividend revenue estimates for FY17 increased $1.75 million from the prior year. As such, the dividend estimate for FY17 is $45.5 million. The next two pie charts give an overview of funding sources for the comprehensive budget. This first table gives you a complete breakout of funding sources, both federally by agency and tribally by type. IHS discretionary is our largest source at 19%. The next page gives you the federal funding of our budget is 57.6%, tribal is 36.1%, and tax is 5.6%. That you are considering for passage. It's an intensive process that takes several months to complete. The FY17 budget planning process began in April of 2016. The Budget's office sent an email to the departments on April the 15th with FY16. The indirect cost or overhead rate used, as based on our FY16 approved rate, is 11.85% versus 13.86% in fiscal year 16. The fringe rate applied to full-time employee salaries for FY17 is 33.6% versus 33% in FY16. Programs were given 5 weeks to prepare their proposed budgets that were due back to the budget departments on May 20th. Departments were required to provide detailed descriptions of each program, including intended outcomes, measures of effectiveness, success rates for each program. We also asked for them to tell us who was eligible for the IRF. They were also asked to detail any significant changes in staffing patterns, grants that the program researched and/or received. And finally, we asked for information on the external entities with which the programs collaborate. These detailed narratives for each program can be found in your white budget books. Continuing on to the next page, review of the budget continued in June into July by the Budget Review Group using several focal points. We first began by ensuring that the programs were funded based on priority of their service objectives. Programs were then evaluated to see if they could utilize grant dollars instead of using general fund dollars, and also the program's willingness to seek out and apply for grant dollars. We also asked the questions, had the program previously received one-time funding? Is this a new or enhanced initiative? What is the current and past usage of funding? Were there any auditor findings or concerns, and how can we apply best practice accounting? And finally, what is the general rationale behind budget increase requests? After the financial review was completed, the budget was reviewed by Chief and Administration after final adjustment council on July 29th. And that can go through some of the changes from FY16 to FY17. As tribally funded programs are the programs that Tribal Council can appropriate with discretion. And we'll start with the new programs. There are 3 new initiatives this year. Archery is a new program under the Education Department budgeted at $30,000. This program will support public schools as the new Joe Thornton Archery Range. Education Outreach has been budgeted at $30,000. Yes, sir?
Slow down a little bit and do questions later, but I want to throw that in right now.
This again in future years.
Okay. Now you can go.
Been budgeted at $30,000 to support the education service assistance and promotional items at photo ID, community, school, and at-large events. The project currently budgeted in the budget at $200,000. It will assist citizens who have been denied assistance through housing rehab, yet present special hardships. On the next page, we have 3 service improvements this year. Contributions and donations increase is $152,000 to ensure that Cherokee Nation districts have sufficient funds for community improvements. The Adult Language Program promotes language proficiency in Cherokee adults. As we lose fluent first language elders every day, it is important to educate more adults in the Cherokee language, enabling the participants to teach the language to others. The increased amount proposed is $145,000. Hunting and fishing licenses were new last year, and as a result of the compact with the state of Oklahoma, the program provides every Cherokee citizen residing in the state aged 16 years or older with an Oklahoma hunting and fishing license. The proposed increase is $104,000.
Why? Why? Why?
Why?
Uh-huh.
Well, I do know that the program is going to work on some outreach efforts, and I'd be happy to have Secretary Hill come and speak to you more about that. So the next pie chart gives an overview of discretionary funds that focuses on services to our citizens. So this pie chart was first presented to Tribal Council last year, and I thought that it was very interesting for you all to see where our discretionary money is going. And the largest portion of our discretionary money goes to education services at 43%. On the next page, the cash reserve account is budgeted at full legal compliance consistent with Legislative Act 5-02 and all subsequent amendments. The proposed budget increased $409,000 for a total cash reserve of $5.9 million. Some employment figures. And here you see a 10-year trend analysis of FTE, or full-time employee. Budget includes 3,879 FTEs, and they remained relatively flat over the prior year. This table gives two breakouts side by side. The one on the left breaks out all employees by funding sources. IHS Self-Governance Health funds the most with 1,792, with DHHS following in second with 409. The table on the right breaks them out by department with 2,023 FTEs, and Education Services is. The next table breaks out vacancies and new positions by department. The table on the left shows vacancies, which total 363. Health has the majority at 203, and Human Services has 33. On the right, we have new positions by department, and total new positions equals 41.6. On the next page, you'll see a payroll analysis, quantifying and explaining the impact of employment variances from FY17 to FY16. I will go down the list and give a little bit more information. The increase in career services is related to the increased staff for the Forestry Firefighters Program, as well as the addition of the Sector Partnership Grant. The decrease in community services is related to the housing program transferring to HACN. The decrease in education services is related to the Head Start cost of living adjustment granted by their agency, budgeted in FY17. The decrease in Environmental Protection Commission is due to the employees in the program now being part of the Secretary of Natural Resources Department. The increase in health services is due to expansions for Oshaleta, Health MIS, and the dental program. The increase in human services is due to increased staff in the child development and family assistance programs. The increase in Indian child welfare is due to increasing service to family preservation, child welfare, and adding Title IV development. And the decrease in the Office of the Chief is related to the administration support. And finally, the Secretary of Natural Resources employees from the Office of the Chief and the Environmental Protection. These changes sum, and that concludes my presentation. I'd like to take a moment to say thank you to a few people who were very instrumental in this process. Connie Chan Cole, our controller, Chris Daniel Stroop in the Budget's office, and we have a whole lot of financial reasons for a beautiful presentation. I promise you it was outstanding. And all of the can't do this without them. And I want to thank you, Tribal Council, for your time and your attention today, and I would be happy to answer any questions you might have or find the appropriate person to answer them. Thank you.
Okay, at this time I would entertain a motion to go ahead and accept this budget so that we can open it up for discussion.
Say, oh,
I
entertain, I say,
Councilor
I'll
Vasquez.
make the motion, also including Exhibit A,
Okay.
that we approve this budget.
I'll second.
Okay, Councilor Vasquez and Councilor Warner. Did you have a question?
Is this discussion?
How about it?
Okay. Lacey,
Yes.
a couple question is, Currently, what percent is Cherokee Nation funded by the federal government?
Yeah, there's a pie chart.
If you look at the funding sources,
80, 75?
this is because this is our comprehensive bit of money for the for the joint venture project. Because
Okay.
those are considered tribal funds.
All right,
So, but
great.
yes, typically it's under 70%.
And you've done a very good presentation. This is for Todd Hembry. It's in June of 17. I've seen it straight lining on here. I guess are we about to go into that soon?
We will be entering into negotiations on that. We will apply for those today.
There's not any forecast right now.
We expect that the negotiation to be successful.
Okay,
We
and
don't see any problems on the horizon.
Okay, all right, sounds good, thank you. And Todd, one more question. The increase you have for your deputy AG, you had an increase. Do you plan on filling that position?
Yes, I do. We are going to evaluate our staffs, and we have that position I would like to get filled. My budget is, as everyone knows, is flat from last year.
Yeah.
As to our salaries, we have a range in those positions, and that is the position I do intend on filling this year.
Okay, all right, thank you, AG. And also, the 152,000 increase for contributions and donations, is this for the tribal council or the executive branch?
$150,000 is directly related to district improvements.
Okay, so it's in the executive branch, not the council budget?
Correct.
Okay. And I asked you a question a while ago, why the increase on the hunting and fishing licenses? Was there increase in number of participants in this program, or?
We've been working hard to get increases. We hope every year it grows a little bit more. We'd like every citizen, to update their information so we can get them issued every year to everyone. So that's not a number of licenses being issued that's different. Last year, when it was implemented, we had to depend on tax commission staff, sheriff's folks, basically volunteered their extra labor to make it work. We have a full-time person now, and that's the increase in the budget is due to that person who is full-time person that works directly for the secretary. And they'll be doing outreach, and they answer some phone calls, going to community meetings, hopefully being able to print out licenses at those committee meetings. So we're working on making it easier for citizens to get access to their hunting and fishing license.
All right, so it's more just outreach.
Right, and to have someone who could be responsible for that, because before it was basically tax commission people being detailed over. So we have
Gotcha.
a full-time person now.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And then the other question I have, I was reading in the white books, I seen a lot of the budgets were the same amounts as they were in the previous years. And I know in health, I know some of the doctors got performance evaluations and there's been increases. And if that's the case, and some employees have got raises, and if that's the case, why is it the same as last year, as FY16 as it is for FY17, the total budget?
Amy, do you want to answer that for health? I'll invite Amy Sams up here to
Okay.
answer your question.
Yeah, but I seen, it wasn't just health, but it was a lot of different departments had the same number. I was just curious on why it was that way.
Basically, our budgets are based on our revenue estimates, and so our revenue estimates were flat, so we had to contain our cost at that level. We were fortunate this year that we did have a reduction in our IDC rate of almost 2%, so that helped kind of offset the cost of the raises. We did budget for raises for all of our employees. And we also, Councilor Bezer brought it up at the last committee meeting, we also budgeted anticipated turnover amount on our facility budgets because we do experience a lot of vacancies there. So when you add all those things together, it works out where there's a small impact for the raises, and we're able to offset that in other line items.
Okay.
And I would say that that's probably true for what you're seeing in other budgets, where you might see a $100,000 budget from last year, it's a $100,000 budget this year. There might be $40,000 in that budget for salaries. There might be $60,000 for supplies. And maybe they've changed that. Maybe there's $60,000 for salaries now and $40,000 for supplies. So
I
maybe
gotcha.
they've just reallocated within that top line.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, thank you. A good explanation. And I guess the gaming commission, I have not had time to look at your budget, Jamie. I seen we had an increase of 2 positions for
Yes, sir.
FY17.
Yes, sir.
How many do you have budgeted? I know in the past we've had, with the gaming commission, you guys had, 15 to 17 positions budget you haven't filled, but you're increasing to, I guess my question is, are you filling these positions?
Yes, up until about a week and a half ago, we were fully staffed, but we've lost 3 people during that time. We are in the process of getting those positions backfilled. These 2 positions that we're looking at for FY17 are a direct result of opening the new Grove facility.
Okay.
With the new facility comes added audit hours. We have to do another 8 audits to fulfill our minimum requirements to the NIGC.
Okay.
In addition to that, we have a gaming systems analyst, which is a position that is designed to help us look at, review, track, and monitor all of our gaming machines across all of our properties. And with approximately 6,000 machines or so out there, it's a pretty hefty job.
Sure.
So we're looking to get some more people to help us with that workload.
Okay, all right, thanks, James. And then, last question, career services, the forestry department, it said there was an increase of 13 positions. Are all those related to forestry, or?
I'd say the bulk of that is related to sector partnership, correct?
There's Diane.
The increase is with the National Forest Service. It's our heritage resource tax. That's where they go in and they mark the trees. And they work over in the Washita Forest over in Arkansas.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
That's it, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, we're
Chair.
going to give each, if you would stay around, Treasurer.
Sure.
You don't necessarily have to stay in the hot seat, but if you would just kind of hang around in case we have some questions. We're going to give each department an opportunity to come up, and you'll have an opportunity to address them directly, unless Counselor Thornton has something before we
Went
move
through
on.
there asking questions then?
No,
Is that what you said?
we're going to let each, these questions are better answered by the department head, so we're going
They're
to
here,
go
aren't
through the budget. Yeah, we're going to go through the budget and let them come in order.
Do you have an order?
We're going to start with the Marshal Service, actually, because I think he has another commitment.
So the Marshal Service Department is the law enforcement for the Cherokee Nation. We provide law enforcement, security, and emergency management, and there were no...
Is that in?
It's Department number 15. Sorry, so it would be Book 2. And there were no significant changes in discretionary budgets for this program.
You ready to go?
Good morning. If you have any questions, feel free to shoot them at me, and I'll try my best to answer.
Wanda?
On the, I was reading through the tribally funded, the meth initiative. Could you explain that to me? It seems like we have, I'm sure there is a great need for that, but what exactly does that mean?
What exactly does the
Or what are you
initiative mean?
doing? Are you doing?
We actually have one marshal that's assigned pretty much full-time to the task force, and his job is to go around and help with undercover investigations, high-risk warrant services, anything that's drug-related. We kind of specialize in meth, but that doesn't stop there. We also do marijuana eradication, especially up in the Kenwood area. We go up there every fall and pull literally millions of dollars worth of marijuana each year up there. So it is kind of a more comprehensive drug program than just meth, but it's funded through the meth program.
Thank you.
Tab,
15.
Okay, good.
Counselor Buzzard, did you have a question?
Is there a budget?
Did you have
No.
something? Okay, Counselor Snell?
I couldn't find the tab.
Oh, it should be in. Go.
For natural resources?
What cover natural?
Of 3 positions that currently are in the FTO program, which is the field training program, and that'll be 3 marshals that we haven't had. They were actually funded under the grant program, and as you can see, we've asked for increase of DOI to help fund that grant program. But those 3 officers won't be designated for one area like Delaware County, but anytime I can get a marshal in the communities is better. So my answer would be they'll be in Kenwood more. How's that?
Marshall, how many officers do we have?
34 sworn.
30. We'll get it. And what's our target?
Well, I would like to come in here and say I'd like about 1,200 marshals, but that's not feasible, okay? We have 34 for 9,000 square miles. That's a lot of coverage. But we have to look really closely and be very responsible on any increase to a marshal position, mainly for the budget impact. Marshals are very, very expensive creatures. They have training every quarter. There's only qualified marshals that can make it through this process. For the 3 positions that we have, 2 of the 3 are combat veterans. One's a Purple Heart recipient, really good young man. He's going to go with the World War II Veterans Memorial this year. So it's a long process to get them. So I think that this budget represents the most responsible increase that we could have at the Marshal Service, which is to supplant that budget for those 3 marshals. We only have 3 FTOs, so I can't have any more marshals than I have FTOs going through the training.
Marshall, can you?
Yes.
Had someone mention the Crow Nation. Is some of those marshals up there?
Absolutely not. We were asked from the BIA to send marshals up to the protests, and quite frankly, I refused. We will not have marshals up there quelling demonstrations that I believe is a constitutional right to be able to do. So we do not have them up there. Now, with that being said, I do have some up in the Dakotas. They're working on a different reservation for the BIA. We usually have 2 or 3 marshals up at any given time through the fall on some of their big events up there. We're reimbursed and funded by the BIA for this, so it really helps our budget at the end of the year. But no, we will not have any marshals at those protests. I promise you that.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, Wanda, did you have a follow-up?
Back to the original question.
Yes.
Is that, you said you had 1 officer on that, okay, is that enough? Is that, I mean, I know you're spread out in a wide area.
We are.
Is that enough?
Our marshal,
No.
here I believe, my marshal, his name's Farron. We call him Ezekiel because he's a real big guy, has a big full, but he's very prolific with what he does. We have. One of the things we did do is we used to have a deputy marshal up on the task force for the U.S. Marshals in Tulsa. What we found is we didn't get a marshal up there, so we pulled that eastern district and went with more and more Indian country. Even though, okay, I don't believe that's responsible. I would rather see small increases over the year that we can sustain, both with equipment, training, manning, and budgetary. There's only so much money that we get as a tribe, and my mother's getting up to the age that health's a big concern to her. It's a big concern to me. It's a big concern to everyone. So it's really hard for me to look, do I buy a patrol car, do I buy a piece for an MRI that, one of our citizens. Now, with that being said, we need marshals, we need patrol cars, we need these things. But we should always take pause when we just come in and just blatantly say we need a bunch more marshals, okay? So.
Thank you.
Councilor Buzzer? Councilor Buzzer?
I know that in our compact with motor fuels tax, you get 20% of those taxes.
Do I get 20%?
Yeah.
I do not believe I do.
Or are you funded from motor fuels tax?
Yeah, I do get it, but I don't think it's 20% of the entire motor fuels.
I think it was, wasn't it, Secretary?
No.
What is the breakdown of those motor fuels
I think
taxes?
law enforcement gets 20,
Yeah,
but that's spread out through the 14 counties.
20% includes what you're giving out to your local law
Yes.
enforcement also.
We got that all right now.
I know roads get a certain portion of that. Tell me the three funding agencies that get those.
Education.
Roads,
School education.
education,
Law enforcement.
and law enforcement.
Yes.
So the portion of the law enforcement we get is part of his, I didn't know that. Well, it comes from the general fund budget. Okay, it's news to me. The other thing, and I guess it makes sense, if you say law enforcement, is however it gets spent. The other thing is on vehicle tags. You don't get any of those dollars there? Does he get any dollars?
I don't think we have vehicle tag.
And how's that split out now? Again, you have to remind me again how the tag tax is split.
Just sitting here, I'll have to get that information for you. We can do that before we get too much further.
Okay. And now, I know that's
That's
also.
actually what when the 20% is on the motor vehicle tax. The motor fuel, there's no specific percentage.
Okay. That's right. Yeah, I remember that. So those compacts are coming up again in 17. Okay, if you could break that out on the motor tax, I'd like to see that.
We'll get that for you.
Okay. And this is no 20%, I thought for sure it Marshall said that may only come from those two. Okay.
If you look in section 23 in my book, I've got it pretty detailed.
Okay.
Counselor Crittenden?
Yes. Sorry about my vague target question, but I think what I was getting at, a former marshal had said that there's something per square miles, what may be suggested, how many officers cover that. I think that's what I was getting at, is like ours is 9,000.
Right, 9,000 square miles.
So is there a suggested how many officers you should have in that? That's what I was getting at.
Well, it gets
I know
kinda-
you want as
okay.
much as you want.
Right. It gets convoluted. The BIA came in when I first took over 5 years ago. We asked the BIA to come in and do a study of manning, of resources, or evidence. I think you all kind of remember that from about 5 years ago. We had them look at every piece of the Marshal Service. You know, what are we doing good? What do we need to work on? Where are we at as far as tribal nations, as far as their law enforcement? And they gave us a number back then. That number was substantially higher than where we're at. And my first question to the BIA was, will you help fund it? And they said, oh, absolutely not. And that's not going to happen in this plane of reference. I can't give you the exact number. Ballpark, it was 78 at a minimum, 215, 220 at optimum. But I hate to throw numbers out there because that's not a realistic number. The Muskogee Creek Nation right now is trying to hire 34 more light horse. They're opening up a sub-office up at their big casino there in western Tulsa. And they're having a really tough time to try to find that many qualified officers. It's tough to find one qualified officer. So I would not feel that I would be doing the tribe good or the council any good to come in here and tell you I need, to get up to that 76 or 78 mark, I would need 40 more marshals. I don't believe that that's reasonable. I think a more reasonable response to that would be just small increases every year. If we can get 1 or 2 a year, and I'm ecstatic because it takes time and money to feed those things. So, but that's about the best I can remember, 74 to 78.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at. Thank you. Thank you.
Sorry. Bill, I think a lot of reasons you can't find qualified officers because of the pay. I think officers are going where the money is, like Tulsa PD, OHP, and I heard they can't, they're having leave ours to, and we're trained, and then they're just PD or whatever. If we're going to spend this much money, we need to give them some type of incentive to not. And I appreciate you guys putting in a budget to try to get them up to the BIE pay. A lot of the staff I visit with here at Cherokee Nation is a pension plan, which that's pretty popular in law enforcement, right?
Quite frankly, for our counterparts on the state side, we actually make either equal to or more than our counterparts. Now granted, we have a much wider and broader job description. We work in 2 federal courts, about 56 municipalities. We're dealing with 6 different district attorneys' offices. But our pay is either equal to or exceeds some agencies. The one place we fall short, and since I've been the marshal, every marshal that's resigned since I took office have been for a very specific reason. It's for a 20-year law enforcement retirement.
What does that look like here at Cherokee Nation? Do you ever foresee that happening in the Cherokee Nation?
That's a tough question that every tribal entity is looking at. Every one of us, to include our nation, the Creeks, the Chickasaws, the Choctaws. When they lose an officer at Chickasaw Nation, it's because of the 20-year law enforcement retirement. That's a huge deal for a young police officer that might be 21, 22 years old, that they know that they can retire with 50 or 65% of their pay for the rest of their life when they get, 45 years old. That's huge to fight. We've looked at
But you got to put a cost analysis to that and see what that would cost.
In 04, we met with Tulsa PD. In 2004, I was asked to go meet with them about what it would take to buy into their program. It's not just the money. I promise you, if it was just the money, I'd be in here today screaming that we need this money.
Yeah, and a matter of fact, I take that back. It wasn't the money. It was the pension plan they were talking about.
But what we found is the solvency of these 20-year law enforcement retirements are going away very, very rapidly. So we have been looking at it. We're taking our time to look at it, and I don't want administration or fears we have. We had OSBI come seeing if the Chickasaw Choctaw program. And when we started looking at it, the reason why they went very, very rapidly from tribes might stabilize it, but is a brand new marshal that just started and is in their FTO, in 20 years from now, are they going to have that 20-year plan, or are they going to be sorry the tribes are out? So we're looking at it.
Well, the BIE though, they're just decreasing. They're still doing a pension. They're just decreasing the amount of the pension.
They've diversified. They have the LEAP program. They also have 401k just like we have here. I can tell you that me and my staff are looking at law enforcement pensions out there right now. And if I find one that, one, meets the standard that we need, two, is within a budget that I wouldn't pass out to come in and talk to administration about or the council, but three, one that I think is going to be stable, because I don't want our tribe to put the money, one, and more importantly, the hopes and dreams of law enforcement officers and their families on a program that might not be here when they need it. So we are looking at this process, but it's going to take some time for me. How's that? That's the best.
Appreciate you looking into that. Thank you, Chair.
Mr. Bird, did you have a comment?
I'm not sure I do.
Okay, we'll move on.
Hey, Marshal, our security.
Yes.
Do we train them as well as we do the marshals?
Absolutely not.
We probably need to, because, they're out there in the front as well as you guys, and I think that needs to be done. Now, highway patrolmen, when they retire, they can sign on for an additional 5 years. Can they not? Do we have that same type of program? Is that what Councilman Walkenstick was alluding to?
No, I don't believe we do. It's very tough. We no longer have a reserve program here at the tribe. I got rid of it due to you can't be a reserve and cross-deputize with a state entity. So if I had a tribal reserve officer here, they couldn't work state cases. They couldn't go into Tahlequah and be a police officer. And a Tahlequah reserve cannot come on to Indian country and work as a police officer. Most deputy U.S. attorneys don't like taking criminal cases from reserves as well. So we got rid of the program. It's not feasible. We've had in the IRS special agent, some of you remember the fund. I don't want to put the benefit of bringing, they can go through the hiring process, but when we start marshal services, it gets really, really tough because we're so low manned. If I had a 200 agency department, I would love are accidents. But the fact is, tired troopers don't want to go to FLETC for 4 months and run and do push-ups and get screamed at,
Yeah.
so.
Thank you, Marshall Buell. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay,
One more.
Counselor
Marshall,
Quinlan.
Like, per year, just the estimate, like the two that's at the Dakotas right now, is that just a exceptional case that they're gone right now, or throughout the year, is that?
It's not the norm, no, it is not the norm. They're up there for, I think, a 2 or 3 week trip, they go up there, and quite frankly, what it does, we looked at it, does it benefit our marshals to be up there? And I think it does. It gives them a perspective of Indian country that they don't see on a daily basis here because of the checkerboard. Up there, they're working primarily reservations, so it really enforces what it means to be an Indian country police officer. And that's one of the reasons why I really promote going to FLETC in Artesia. We could have a police officer that's been a police officer and they come here and they could be a cop. But I don't believe they can come here and be a good Indian country police officer. They don't have that in their head on the differences that it takes to be an Indian country police officer. So even if you're a police officer and you come here, we send you to FLETC because we want that little piece in your head that not only are you a police officer, yes, but you're an Indian country police officer that has something special to it, I believe. We're not just out there putting handcuffs on people. We're in our community that we swore to defend. And that needs to be at the forefront of each marshal when he goes, or she goes to work in the day, so.
Okay. No more questions for Marshall Buell. We will move on. Thank you
All
for
right,
your
thank
time
you.
this morning. We'll do the budget of the Office of the Chief first, and if you have any questions, let's get after it. There is an exec out. If you need Lacey to go over that with you, she'd be happy to do so.
We should.
Excuse me?
Oh, an exhibit.
Exhibit A.
Emergency rehab.
Oh,
The county for that.
The one pager?
Are there any questions on that or any other areas of the chief's budget?
Council members, yeah, that's that one pager that talks about.
So correct. So this is where you'll see the two things happen. You'll see the housing assistance program that is currently in your white books in the Human Services Department. You'll see that be moving into the Office of the Chief. And you'll also see that $1,000. I don't have that in front of me.
Still need the budget narrative.
Correct.
And Mr. Speaker, just concerning the housing, my understanding is that there'll be a friendly amendment forthcoming to add that to the budget, but it's something that was discussed with counselors in our meetings last week or otherwise distributed.
That's correct.
Counselor Austin.
Yes, in the chief's budget on page 18 is charitable contributions, donations.
Correct.
There is a correction. I caught it in my study and visited with the administration, and there is a new sheet available. I don't know if it's gotten to everybody. It's being passed out right now. It's one simple, no, it doesn't change the cash here. What it does do, though, is Roy Rogers Park Restoration informed me that they do not need the funds this year. And J.M. Davis actually has a massive need to update their computer system this year. So it's just a change in moving funds from the Roy Rogers Park Restoration to the J.M. Davis Gun Museum for this year.
And Mr. Speaker, Councilor Austin had made that request before, during the budget process, and we just simply did not get that change made, although we had agreed to it. And so, in addition to take care of that as well.
Yes. So I'd request the chief's budget to reflect these changes and to add the narrative for the housing rehab safety net program that has been distributed as well.
I'll accept.
Counselor Warner, do you also accept those changes? Okay, so that friendly is accepted. Those changes will be made in the budget. Are there any other questions under the chief's budget? Counselor Lay?
On the narrative for the housing rehab safety net program, are we going to discuss that now or that later?
Good.
Cannon, you got extra copy of that for the recorder?
Do you prefer to,
Of the body.
go ahead and do it now or off?
On, I think it's page 1 and under budget. And it says 510, which equates per council member. Actually, it probably
Well, the purpose that, and I drafted that is the $510,000, the reason I used the word equate was just to explain how we arrived at the 500 per council member when you pass the budget with this line item in there. It's happy to change the word, but I just wanted to say that's how I came up with the word equate.
And certainly, Councilman, Mr. Speaker, there's no disagreement that that's per council member, so we don't have any disagreement with the.
I think as long as we keep the understanding that it does go to all the, the districts there. Is that what we're talking about here? Okay. Does everybody understand that?
and it really doesn't state that it's allocated. It just says equates. I've been bitten by legalese here before a time or two, and I don't want to be bitten again. That's all. That's all I'm asking.
Happy to change the word to allocate.
Thank you.
But it does say per council member. Thank you for that.
And Mr. Speaker, if I could, one part of this narrative and this approach that has nothing to do with housing, but has to do with making sure that all council members are able to take care of some additional needs in their districts is there was a request that we add some money for at-large scholarships, since at-large council members can't feasibly take care of housing needs in the entire universe outside of the Cherokee Nation, but certainly there are some at-large scholarship needs, so it would reflect that there's some additional money that would go to the Cherokee Nation Foundation that would go to its at-large scholarship effort,
Yes.
just to clarify why that is in there.
Councilman Baker, you okay with that? Okay, Council?
Yes, sir.
Hatfield. Good.
Very happy.
Okay. Any other questions on the chief's budget? Counselor Walkenstein?
$325,000, the housing accessibility, is that the same program that Councilman Lay was referring to? Okay. All right, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on that? If not, we will move on to the council budget.
Chair.
I'm sorry, I didn't see you.
For clarity, on Councilor Lay's request, and then the Secretary's, and I believe it was Attorney General, the changing of the wording of that, did we agree to a changing of the wording on that?
We have changed it from equates to will be allocated.
I understood that to be in the form of a friendly that I didn't hear an objection to, and certainly we don't object to.
Nobody objected.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Councilor Buzzer?
On this sheet here, special projects for $450,000. Can you give me an idea of what we're talking about now?
Councilor, that is what in this previous year had been, that amounted to $30,000 per council member for the 15 council members that have geographic districts. Just a council member who have districts.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Councilor Hatfield?
On this list, back to this list, I know we're going, there's different areas, different groups. Is the Habitat for Humanity, is that in the 14 county area? Is this all the 14 county area? Because, is that?
I believe that is the case. We can
It's a
certainly.
Random question, but.
No, it's a fair question. Yeah, it's the Tahlequah area habitat.
The Tahlequah area, because I don't know if I'm allowed to say the area, she's at Humanity, and she said I don't know, but she's worked with some tribes and just hasn't received any, but just, I don't even know who she has spoken with, but she would be very interested in working with Cherokee Nation, just
Counselor,
FYI.
we'd certainly visit with them, and if you wanted to help us facilitate that meeting in the coming year, we would certainly visit with them.
Okay,
We
thank you
can't-
very much.
Couldn't make any commitments
I know,
sitting
I
here, but
understand.
we
Understand. Thank you.
We're good with the chief's budget. Okay, let's move on to the tribal council, and Jody, if you'll come forward, and any questions that you have about that, if you want to direct them to Jody, we'll be moving on. If there are no questions about our budget, we'll move on to the Supreme Court's budget.
It's all flat.
All dressed up and ready to go, aren't you, Jody? Oh,
Wait a minute, Jody.
did you want to say, I'm sorry.
Jody, I do want you to clarify some of that where Counselor Bozer was talking about how that was broken down on percentage for law enforcement, motor fuel. So I'd like for you to do a presentation.
Okay, on the motor fuel tax, there's no specific percentages.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just a
If you
minute.
return to the Jody
Yeah.
book on 23, I believe, it gives you a really good breakdown, and I had some questions on it. too,
Okay.
so- Okay.
But on the motor fuel, there's no specific percentages, but on a motor vehicle tax, if you go to section 23 on my little narrative page, I have a breakdown of percentages, of how the motor vehicle tax is broken out.
Where was that, Jody?
It's page 1, right, it's first page right behind the charts in section 23.
All right.
Down towards the bottom of the page, there's 38% of the gross goes to the schools, and 95% of that percentage goes to the eligible schools within the expanded jurisdiction area. And then there's 5% of that amount goes to the special fund that's currently used to help schools bring up their 8AF scoring, and it's called the co-op program. Item B, 20% of the gross goes to roads. Of that 20%, 90% goes to roads construction and 10% to roads administration. Item C, the current year operating expenditures of the tag office comes out. And then item D, 20% of the net after the tag office expenditures and those other percent goes to law enforcement.
Yeah, yes.
That clarifies it.
Match of the 5% of the, and anything that goes into the general fund every year include get out the vote, which is the, that way there can be no question in revenue. Of course, the hunting and fishing license is being funded out.
Councilor Buzzard?
Yes, I want to bring this to the attention, and and I probably don't know if I should talk about this right now, but if you look at B, 20% goes to roads. If the council members, ever since we had the compact, they were getting 20%. We're still getting, now if you look down there, 10% of that goes to the roads department. I'm proposing that we change that 10% to 5%, because I don't think they use all that stuff every year, because I've looked at their budgets, and the numbers don't reflect the expenditures on it. So, I don't know when we bring this forward, but what we would do is increase our portion to 25% and get a road department 5% for the administrative work. Jody, you can answer this question, I think, but I've never seen them spend 10%, because they get 10% from the motor fuels tax, because I looked at their budget. So, understood that we increase our percentage to 25% and get, and
Excuse me.
It would probably require some changes in our compact and stuff, so we may want to get
Well-
legal involved in that.
Well,
Because our compact, I think, is specific on that part, but we can sure look at it.
yeah, but I think what I'm saying is, we won't be changing the 20%. We'll only be taking the 5% off the 10%
allocation
that
of-
they get for the administrative,
yeah.
so we're not changing.
We can look at that. I know you're correct, they do have carryover in our spending.
Every year, I watch it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, I used to do it, and I know that to be the fact. Anyway, that's what I'm proposing. I don't know if I need to put that in form of a resolution now or wait till
I have a question for you. Motion.
to make a motion that we do that then.
Second. Got a motion and a
Yes,
second.
Attorney General.
I want to make a comment first. That is, we're not changing the amount, we're still, still asking 20%
For roads.
for roads there. Then increase to 25 and then cut back to 5% from the 10. Now, my question is, legal, I'm glad you're there. Is this going to affect our compact? Yes or no?
I would ask that this be a standalone issue. Let me review the compact language. Let the treasurer work with the road department to see what impact it would have on their budget, because I know all these monies have been allocated for a specific purpose in this deal. It may be that we, after review, that we come back with during a budget mod, but to do this type of, that I'd rather let's look at it in a globalistic posture, both on the budget end and on the contract end.
Okay, well, the way I see it, and correct me if I'm wrong, is we're getting 20% of the motor fuels tax, or the tag tax, or the motor fuels tax. Then roads is taking 10% of that 20%. We're not increasing the overall tax.
I understand that. Again, let me look at it. I mean, that's, when things happen on the fly, if you don't thoroughly investigate them, I want to make sure that I'm copacetic with it. And obviously, if you rely on this budget item, there may be some shifting that needs to.
I say it, I was a percent. So that's the reason I bring that up.
So let's put this in a written proposal, let both come back with a modification and later.
I have a question for you. I've got a motion and a second. What do I do with that?
He would withdraw his motion, he
Okay.
withdraw his second, and should we go for it?
Okay, and you just withdrew, right, Harley?
Do what?
You just withdrew that motion?
I'll withdraw it for now.
Okay, thank you. And we will visit it later. Counselor Walkenstick?
Let's go with Harley was saying. The motor fuel specific percentages, it just has a broad area of where vehicle compact does have percentages in there. And so what you're, Councilman, and you're wanting to increase dollars of allocation based off of that, right?
No, I think we can only get, I'll have to think about that now that you brought it up. I guess it would increase something.
Okay, yeah, the motor.
I don't think so, because we were only getting 20% of those motor fuels tax like it was. And now that 20%, the roads are getting 10% of that 20%.
Okay.
I hope that's clear.
I'm not clear. We'll talk offline.
Okay.
All right,
There we
thank
go.
you, Chair.
Okay.
I
Joe,
have
did you
another
have
one.
any?
I have
I'm sorry.
another
Go
one on that
ahead.
that Councilor Byrd brought up. If you look at line E, that increase, and I know that has to increase because it's coming from the tag tax. Jody, can you give us the numbers on what education was getting from that 5% in 2015 or 16? It's a substantial increase of that money.
It's line E, that's the tax commission.
It's some page.
Still on the follow-up with the first.
And I guess it's what I would be asking, it may be the wrong time to ask, is what are we getting for the increase of those dollars that's going to education? The reason it's increasing because we've sold a lot more tags this year.
Right.
Yeah. Outside the 14
Yes,
counties.
exactly.
Yeah, that's a good question.
The go to the other one. find it again, which department is in here.
We're still discussing line E, is that correct?
Yes, he's asking about the co-op monies,
AF.
how much it's increased.
Well, I know in 17 it's up to 492,000. I don't know what it was in 16. I can't find that.
It was like 300.
It's a big increase.
Yeah, and I know in 16 there was
It's,
quite a bit because there was carryover. They're not
Right.
spending all those
Carryover,
funds, so I was gonna go back and find the 15 amount.
This used to be the old, where you used to give 5% of that money for competitive grants to schools. Like $25,000 a year for 2 years or 3 years, whatever it was. And they've changed this to go into the education department to where they do, I guess, co-ops out to schools. I think it's a good program because they have this program that's called Cost for the
sorry,
Superintendent.
no, Supreme Court.
Okay.
I'm not so sure we're getting our money's worth out of it. That's my question.
You know, Councilor Buzzard, evaluate that. I mean, we did that for years, and it was made.
Sure, we have programs, yeah.
But I think now it may be a good time to go back and look at that. We've got a new director, Mr. Etheridge. Maybe he can assess that and give us some recommendations if we're getting our money's worth.
Oh, I agree. I just wanted you to see what the increase
The,
is.
well, it's kind of hard, yeah, the allocation, the budget for this year is 492,000, but if you look at the budget those other years, it's always large because they've got a large carryover, so, yeah, it's not being spent fully.
Okay.
Not technically a decrease because of the carryover funds.
Okay. That being said, we'll move on to the Supreme Court.
Madam Chair, there were no changes to this budget other than removal
Okay.
of.
On to the Office of Attorney General.
And again, Madam Chair, no changes to this budget.
Brings us to
Attorney General? I see that there's no increase. Did you say there's no increase in that?
Correct. These budgets are filed.
The only thing that I'm kind of wondering about is, right now, we're fixing to get into a fight over these water rights. Are we going to need additional lawyers for the fight, for that fight?
Very likely. We do have a contract litigation
Will that
budget.
come within this year, 17?
We don't know.
We haven't got a report on the Choctaw and Chickasaws situation yet. And I thought maybe we'd get one before this budget come up. But if we're going to have to hire a firm or two to help with our water rights, then it looks like we need to increase this budget somewhat. But I may be thinking wrong. Maybe we don't need to, and we're not going to hire anybody, and the Attorney General's office is going to take care of all of it.
We currently have an outside litigation budget, the Secretary of Natural Resources budget.
Do you have enough?
We do have some money in anticipation of water rights litigation, but I would anticipate that both AG's office and the Secretary of Natural Resources, in the event that we actually filed suit, may be seeking more funding from council, but
We'll get ready because
we're not anticipating anything immediately. It may not happen in at the next, the Secretary of Natural Resources and our office overview of the.
Well, I'd sure like to know something. Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Okay, brings us down to education.
I got one more question for AG. Hey, Todd.
Yes, sir.
The charter compact we just signed with the state a few minutes ago, did you guys ever get anything in writing as far as if they're going to be identified to be eligible for impact aid?
They are. In fact, we've been awarded impact aid. So we're
Really? It's good news. That's really. Is it in the FY7? Is it in here?
Is that
think all the litigators.
Yeah, it just came through.
Did it really? How much?
$21,000.
Good.
Got our foot in the door. Foot's in the door. All right, thank you. Good news.
Okay, so education service, this budget I haven't discussed already with the archery program and the educational outreach.
Are there any questions that need to be addressed to the Education Services Department here?
We took care of the concurrent enrollment?
We did.
Okay.
I think we're okay. We did visit with Treasurer's Office this morning, so I think we'll be okay.
And the variance between last year's scholarship versus this year is
We funded 3805. Right now, we're at 4,042.
wow.
So we're still within budget, and we've got a few more kiddos we're working with to finalize their application. So we should have a full report next month.
Thank you. On the insurance money, where did that money get transferred to?
It's going to be work with us because they'll finish it out from his area.
A through F, where's that at in the education book?
105, 1020.
So that's,
What
Yes.
page?
105, 1020, motor vehicle tax, public school co-op.
Page 137, perhaps.
Okay, so, there's $100,000 in salaries and wages. What is that? That goes,
We don't have salaries in that one.
I guess there's, it
VT
go,
Public School Co-op. We do the professional development training we have at NSU in the summertime. We have the TOS meetings. We have some north, south, and then some in Tahlequah. Where
I guess I'm looking at the wrong one. I'm referring to one, Councilman Buzzard was referring to, the 400,000.
yes, that's that budget.
Is this it?
I'm not sure if it's the
It says
same one or not.
200,000 in here. I may have been on the wrong page. But it's
Page
one,
130.
135
page 135.
on their tab.
Okay, I was at 105. Okay, page 135.
We've been talking with superintendents at the Public School Appreciation Day about how they want to see some of that used for them, and there's a
no
wide array.
breakdown on cost on this page of
Page
where.
137 is the
So,
breakdown.
yep, flip the page to the next page, 137.
Okay.
What were you saying, Jennifer?
We've got a widespread from the superintendents with how they would like for us to distribute the funds, from just adding it to their, public school day check to just small grants, transportation, features that they want to have in their school. So those are some of the things that we're,
So when you get contract services, are we contracting something out?
some speakers
Speakers?
for the TOS Institute that we have in the summer.
For 60,000?
It just varies.
Okay.
Some
It's
of
a-
our
you got a
keynote
budget for
speakers.
60,000 in here.
Yeah. And then if we do mini grants to the schools, then those would be contracts.
Okay, do we have any, buddy, I guess, employed?
No,
through
not on,
this?
not through
Not
VT
the
funds.
400,000, the A through F?
No,
Okay.
please.
But we have people contracted though?
We do some contracts, yes, to help us kind of get out and cover those schools. We have just actually one staff, Dr. Sly, dedicated to that, and one employee who does the counts every year, and those are paid for through other budgets, so no staff covering these.
Okay. And the other thing I like to incur, and I visited with Secretary of State about, is the $5,000 possible increase for teacher raises for this year for the state of Oklahoma. They're going to increase sales tax. You guys are going to be voting on that in November. Sean Crittenden, are you familiar with that as well? 5,000. I'm thinking about our teachers over at Sequoia High School. And I don't know what the appropriate way of doing this, but we have 35 full-time teachers over at Sequoia, which would be 175,000. I don't know if it's something, which we'll recess in a bit, but I don't know if it's something that we take care of now and find 175,000, or we just need to be prepared to possibly take care of those teachers. And I don't know when it's going to go into effect, if it starts effective November 1, or if it goes into effect in the next fiscal year. But I like to be prepared to be very competitive with our teachers and what teachers out in the outlying areas are making.
And we'll look at that with Human Resources and with Treasurer's Office and making those adjustments if those are needed.
Well, we're gonna have to. I mean, we're gonna have to do it in this budget cycle, or do a budget model later down the road. But that's kind of where I'm getting at.
I think we prefer to wait until we kind of see where that passes in the implementation plan for that.
Lacey, do you think we'll have some money laying around, $175,000, just in case it does pass?
I would say that we're probably in wait-and-see mode on that too. And I
Okay.
can never make promises on what's going to be available.
Well, I'm trying to figure out what we need to do here, because I'm definitely want to take care of these teachers at Sequoia. It's our duty as a tribal council to take care of Sequoia School. So, anyways. And then there is another request I have under the education budget, and Mr. Etheridge, we visited on this briefly, was the cost analysis for energy. I know, like I said, we go to Sequoia High School, lights are left on, utilities are high. Over Muskogee, we got this program that, we're doing the same thing over there. Our energy bills were $500,000 a year, and we bought this program for $200,000. We got our money back on this program on the first year of using it, and then after that, we've added additional money to our budget of $200,000 to $300,000 a year of savings alone. And I know this program would at least cost $200,000. So, and that could be something we put under special projects for education, just so that we can get our money, and maybe something we can use for the Cherokee Nation complex as well, and get our money back as well. So,
One thing I would say, Councilman, is periodically there are grants available to do energy audits and those sorts of things, and it might be prudent for us to spend much of this fiscal year, not the first half, trying to find those grants to see if we can't do that. And I do think it makes sense to do that from time to time, to make sure the money's not going out the window, literally. So that would be I think our commitment right here. I don't know that we're prepared to commit any travel funds to do that right now, but I think we're certainly prepared to look for grant opportunities, and we can report back to your committee monthly on our progress.
And if you wouldn't mind sharing the name of this product?
yeah, there's three different companies we got bids on. I mean, it has a deal where you can program to turn off the heat and air and the lights at like 5 or 6 or whatever. And like I said, after the first year, we had over $300,000 in savings alone over at Muskogee. And so, and I can guarantee you we'll have that or more here at the Cherokee Nation. But the program is roughly around $200,000, but we have a lot more square footage than Cherokee Nation does, Muskogee schools. But so anyways, I'd like to put that in a special projects budget if we could. So anyways, we'll visit about it here briefly, but that's all I have. Thank you.
Question.
Yes, Councilor
Okay,
Hatfield?
forgive me for not doing, maybe looking at all your programs. You have a numerous amount, but can I ask you questions about specific programs? Sure. The Cherokee, what do you do?
Yes, that supports the staff, so the executive director is not included, but from their finance, their maintenance, the villagers, and their outreach and education staff are covered under that program.
Okay, public school outreach?
Public school outreach, that is STEM focused. Supports our robotics programs, the science fair you see. That's kind of, and then they go to public schools with ACES chapters, local science fairs.
The Hort Scholarship for Women?
I can speak to that one.
That was a one-time request from an estate. And the estate required that those dollars be used to provide scholarships for Cherokee women. So you'll see this naturally decrease over time as those one-time funds are spent.
The Learning Village initiative.
That's our Promise program. Partners in the Cherokee Nation Scholarship, we put that in a package in Rogers State.
Counselor Crittenden?
See, I had
A dedicated staff that provide anything online language to request history of the nation or, you know, coloring books, the things that we've offered in the language. They'll contact that group, and also, and then compared to the cultural outreach, if J.P. Johnson, some of our other folks that go to the public schools do the actual crafts.
all right, so public schools can request the coloring books, different things. That's good. Then cultural outreach is the stories.
The activities, and then the center is actually the materials that you would receive.
All right. And let's see. Now I know what this is, of course, but I see Cherokee translators. Just been here a little over a year. Just kind of help me out with them good folks.
What do they know about anyone? Primarily for the nation, not just Cherokee Nation, but the enterprises, the business in the Phoenix and plans that they help with. That, then they're more than happy to help.
We've even had some.
They'll also translate your Microsoft projects that you see, your phones, the Cherokee that you see on there. They're translating those projects for you.
It's carryover usually on the cultural outreach,
Usually very minimal, if any.
and the same as the cultural resources. Thank you, ma'am. Sorry. Thank you.
Counselor Garvin?
Yes, thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
Ron, a couple of months ago, we talked about our Cherokee citizens incarceration. Are we able to do anything on that?
Right, we're still, in fact, I have visited with the gentleman in charge that came and visited with the council here, and we're looking at second semester, and we're not looking at a great expenditure, and the chief of staff and I have visited on that, and basically, you know, we're waiting to come to the conclusion as to, you know, the cost, I mean, total cost. And so we knew that we were probably too late to start it for this semester because school's in session right now, but we're looking at starting it next semester. The interest is research that he's done, so I think the cost is not going to be that much, but it will be a matter that, yes, we'll have to discuss and we'll have to budget in some way.
Very good. Okay, thank you, sir. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Counselor Austin?
National Treasures Projects was 65 in 16, 65,000 in 16 and zero this year. Is that a program that is being transferred, or is it just defunded?
Yes, it was transferred to Cherokee Nation Enterprises.
Okay.
Fully functional and funded by them.
Thank you. I remember reading that someplace, but I could not find it.
Okay, anything else for this bunch? All right, appreciate you guys. Keep up the good work.
Jennifer, that was a good job explaining our program. That's a good job.
Good job, Rob.
Okay, that brings us to health.
Health Services serves our citizens with their health needs, in which the nation provides care through ambulatory health care centers and a hospital. The significant change for this department from last year includes, although you can't see that in this budget because it compares it to a carryover amount from last year, the contract health service dividend is increasing by $250,000, which is reflective of the 5% set aside within the 35% dividend from CNB. Connie can answer your questions.
Anybody have any questions for health? Counselor Lay does. Okay.
It was just about something I think that you'd said, Lacey, that the health settlement funds have all come over now into, is it the health department or gen fund?
They were budgeted in gen fund over the past 3 years, 2 years.
Not the health department, but gen fund.
Correct.
Why was that?
Well, we were very transparent about that in both budget years that they were brought into, so both 14, 15, and 16. So I would say that that was a decision that we made along with council.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Hatfield?
I just had a question about the community recreation center, and is that just, we just have one located in Cherokee County, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, why, well, maybe this isn't the right question to ask, but is there a possibility we could do that for all our communities in the future? I know it takes lots of money, but I think this is excellent. I had heard a little bit about it, but I read a little bit more about it, and I was just very excited about it. And, for all our county, I mean, wouldn't that just be, and that number one is for health reasons, but wouldn't that be great for our children? Have something to do in those
we
small
agree.
communities?
And that's why with our clinic expansions, we've tried to include extra space for the citizens to work out in the health centers.
Yes, I wish you would consider that in the future, or just in the back. I know we have many more issues that are, priority, but I think that's excellent. I just think it'd be great for
Absolutely.
communities. Thank you. Thank you.
Counselor Garvin?
Connie, we talked before about fitness in District 4, and we have this great facility in Muskogee, and we'd like, I requested money for fees, and last year you said you didn't have it. Is there anything in it for this year?
There is not, sir.
We would like equal treatment that District 1 has with Arcoma, similar. I don't know how much you spend on that, but District 4 would like a third of that.
We felt like we needed to maintain the current budget that we had, given our revenue status for this year, and give us the opportunity to catch up and make sure whatever we budget is, we can operate under that.
Those Cherokees need the same treatment really that the other district has.
Understand.
How do you justify that?
This budget has been in existence since we came to work here, and I think it was a unique opportunity to purchase that facility and begin such an initiative.
You're taking the other people's money and putting it in there?
I don't think so.
Looks like
The gym serves 11,500 Cherokees actively. Those numbers creep up every year. It's utilized, every hour of the day that it's open. And I agree, we would like to see something like that in the future when our budget would allow it. But right now, the budget just would not allow any more than what we're doing.
well, I think it's very unfair to do it this way, but I guess we have to live with it. One other thing, audiology, did you put any more money into that?
In audiology, sounds like I need it today. We budgeted flat in that as well.
Why?
Same thing. We need our revenue to catch up to make sure we can maintain the budget that is existing right now.
I think there's a year waiting time for somebody to get in. So,
Yes.
very important.
And in response to Counselor Austin's request at Health Committee last week, I guess, we're going to take a look at our vendors and start preparing to make some changes to improve access to audiology.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, sir. Counselor Walkenstick?
Hey, Connie, just kind of pulling all the council members in here. we have Mark Coleman in our backyard, and we're thankful for that. These other council members are wanting a Mark Coleman in their backyard, or something similar, and this has been taught for, I'm going on my 5th year, but this has been taught going on in every health clinic. I know they have a small fitness center. I know over at Three Rivers, there's a small one over there. And Brian, you got one in your, like a little small fitness center?
Yeah. Benita has one.
Over by my house, my son's got one.
And he's got one in his farm. But in Stillwell, we don't have anything Stillwell, do we? Yeah, we desperately need one at Stillwell. I know you're the director, and you're the one that puts the budget in play and where money's being spent. And it sounds like we've decreased our federal budget dependency by a big load due to the joint venture. Do you foresee any money being freed up for future health facilities in different communities due to the joint venture?
I believe that would be a possibility.
Okay. And does that come into effect FY17?
No.
FY18?
Right now, what you see in the budget is the money to build the building.
When does the joint venture start?
So probably 2019.
2019 is when the joint venture begins. Okay.
That's the projected date.
Okay. That's the other thing is on in the health budget for a lot of the salaries aren't accurate, and I know it's because I know a few of the doctors and different workers in Cherokee Nation, and I was showing them the budget, and they were telling me that their salary is incorrect, and it's the same as last year FY16's salary. Is that something?
Yes, sir, that's correct. That is their actual recurring salary. Their pay structure is that they get a bonus. That's a one-time bonus. So that is not part of their base salary, so to speak. So
The bonus, is that the Christmas bonus, or
no,
what bonus
it's
you
their
referring to? Performance evaluation?
Yes.
I didn't see it reflected in the budget. It had 3%, and then it had a Christmas bonus, and that was it.
Right, and their percentages can vary, I believe, up to 5, is that correct? We've always just budgeted the 3% for all employees, because we have a lot of vacant positions in our budget as well. And if the position is vacant, of course, there's no bonus or merit increase that goes along with that position. So it all kind of works out in total, but we have never.
A position, is that like a step?
It's not every year, is it? Their years of service.
Yeah, they get a step.
Every 2 years, they get an increase. Every year, they get what we call a merit, up to 5% of their base salary.
Well, the contract that they signed with us has a different amount that's budgeted in this book. So I was wanting both to correlate with what's on their contract and what's in this book.
When we prepare the budgets, we run a report out of the payrolls or out of the actual HR system to get a listing of all employees and what their current pay is at the time that we're preparing the budgets. And that's what we use when we budget. So
it's
if you have a
Nason's
specific.
So Nason's you guys use Nason's information, or you guys have your own HR?
It's the information in the HR system, so it would be Nason's, I suppose.
Nason, is that updated?
But to be fair, this information was ran back in April. So the information you're seeing here from an HR perspective.
But these are projections for FY17, not FY16 in April.
That's correct, but at the same time, what she's telling you is that they're budgeting used off of current data. It would be impossible for them to go through all 2,000 employees and create a projection on each employee, so.
That's the budget we're gonna pass, is a projection for FY17.
That's right, and there is a 3% at the bottom of that budget form that's in everyone's budget to capture the merit increases for all employees, and you know how that works. Regular employees that are not physicians can get up to, or they.
Correct.
5% for health, but.
Just for the doctors.
Yeah.
Not for the regular employees. So
I'm just saying, I would like to see next year, when you guys do your budget, that it's clear reflection projections on the next year that we're gonna be voting on. And if it's a doctor, put 5%. If it's an employee, put 3%. Like, I wanna be clear on what I'm looking at and what we're voting on.
Counselor, I've taken a quick glance again at these salaries. These appear to be pretty accurate,
They're
so
not.
maybe,
I'm telling you, if we need to, we can pull the doctors in that I visited with and their contracts and see that the amount is different in the budget. Okay? So that's all I have to say. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Counselor Thornton?
Gosh,
Fitness centers, so we're going.
Fitness center.
fitness center,
Yeah.
that's what it was. I don't know if, I guess everyone knows this, but I don't know if we take advantage of it in our health centers and our fitness center and all these employees. Everyone that has this Blue Cross Blue Shield and different insurances can get that paid for. If you live in Muskogee and you've got insurance, you can go to your insurance and they'll pay for that health and fitness center if you'll do it. But, it's another line of income.
well, that is news to
Someone
me
needs-
as well, so we will investigate that further, and
Needs to check into that.
thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
Will that be all, Counselor Thornton?
Yes, ma'am, for right
Counselor Hargis?
now.
Connie, I was just looking and I wanted to know why was there such a large decrease in the substance abuse treatment?
I believe we had a carryover last year that we didn't have available this year.
You'll see more carryover being brought in.
Okay.
Like
All right, thanks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. That was one of my questions, so thank you for answering that. Also, to talk about the health center, as far as Marcoma and stuff, and investigating what Councilor Thornton said, maybe look into some partnerships. I know in Sallisaw, there's a Sallisaw Family Fitness, and they've come to me numerous times wanting to know how could we partner, and maybe that would help to catch some of that cost. I mean, because I'm telling you, if you don't know, go ask the people that run Sallisaw Family Fitness how much it costs to run one of those facilities, and all the liability and all the different things. But maybe there's some other ways we go to the communities and, create those partnerships where they shoulder, the facilities maintenance and the people and stuff like that, but we can help partner up with them and maybe produce some low-cost memberships and get to a point where maybe it's zero, especially at the Blue Cross Blue Shield. Sure. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you.
Counselor Lake?
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Welcome, sir.
The fitness centers, I heard somebody say here that every clinic has got one. That's not true. And that's one reason I asked about the health settlement. Where did it go? If fitness centers in each clinic were settlement money, but it went to Gen Fund. And I know it's written down where it goes in stating the fitness centers that we were promised. It's in my district. And I'm gonna tell you all, every clinic does not have a fitness center. And I don't begrudge Marcoma. It's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
I'm glad it's here. But admin and health needs to the next time you guys get a chance to scoop up some money, please do so. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Counselor Buzzard?
And I just echo what Councilor Lay is saying, but, we had a chance to do something with those dollars, and we didn't do it. So, and I wish we had said something about our health facilities as far as those exercise equipment, but when those dollars are here, we didn't do anything about it. We let it go into Gen Fund, and I remember the conversation about that. So, part of it's my fault that we didn't speak up and say we'd like to have those dollars earmarked someplace, so that's gone. I do have a question about on 1010-900 contract health service dividends. Connie, explain that a little bit. I see a large decrease.
Why 15 carry over
Okay.
because the dividend outperformed and gets brought into the 16 budget. But we go back to the new dividend estimate, and so the new dividend estimate is $250,000 above the prior year, so it's not a decrease, it's technically an increase year over year, but I would expect some carryover to be brought in on this fund.
All right, okay, well, that
Next year.
explains it, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, Counselor Byrd.
Fitness centers, I think that's a good comment that's been made. Maybe we can start looking into some of those projects as we do the joint ventures in the next couple of years. There's a lot of planning that goes into place with these. It's more than just having a building and putting some workout equipment in. You have to have trained people in there, and we do there at Marcoma. I look at the reports every month where how many visits we had at the Redbird Smith Clinic, the one in Jay, and then the one in Stillwell. Usually they are around 9,000, 10,000 visits. We have the same there at Marcoma, close to 10,000 visits every month, and close to 10,000 members. So it's something we need to look at, because I am a strong advocate of that, having, let's prevent some of these health issues that we deal with. I'm not sure we'll ever have enough money to take care of the health issues that we have until we start getting into preventive health. And that's something I've been advocating from day one. We tried that years ago, back in the late 80s, before some of you guys' time here. Head Start. When we would build a Head Start center, we would put workout equipment in those facilities. I don't know whatever happened to that equipment, but nobody utilized those. That was some time ago in the past. Maybe this is a different day where we have qualified and interested people that'd be willing to work at these places, because Lisa Pivick, you got Julie from Westfield there, and then you have Shirley. Her staff there at the Marcoma, they do an excellent job. I see a lot of our rehab people from our clinics and hospitals go there. It's nothing to see 70, 80-year-old people on those treadmills.
Yeah.
It's a great program. I mean, I think it's something that we need to look at. If we don't do that, then I think we're really missing a great opportunity, as Councilor Buzzard said, with this maybe new monies that's coming in with our joint ventures. I know there's some specifics we have to spend those monies on, but I think we need to start planning and see what kind of costs we would be looking at for these various districts to have a facility like that.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
All right. If there are no other questions for health, we will move on to financial. Just a minute, Connie. Counselor Hoppen.
What is safeguarding the future? SOC safeguarding the future.
Can you tell me which budget you're looking at?
3408600. That is our children's behavioral health services. You might have heard of the HERO project.
Yes, ma'am.
That is the grant that funds that project. For children.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
We'll give it, I don't know, next year, but it won't.
Okay. That's all? Thank you, Connie.
Thank you.
Okay, financial resources is the next one up.
Yes, ma'am, I'll handle this one. So the departments underneath financial resources include accounts payable, accounts receivable, purchasing, payroll, travel, contracts, and grants management. Significant changes for these budgets from last year include $15,000 for treasury appointment-related travel, $409,000 for the legislatively required cash reserve, and a decrease in $138,000 related to the anticipated reduction of banking fees. So if you have any questions, I can answer those.
Anybody have any questions on that budget? If not, we'll move on. Community services is next.
Ron? Where's Ron Qualls?
So,
Outside the door.
outside. So community services serves our citizens and their community needs.
Let me say
Road construction,
Grab Ron
engineering and
Claus.
sanitation, and housing rehab.
Gold tie.
And one of the significant changes for this year includes an increase of $44,000 at the request of the chief to the individual water and sewer general fund program to help meet the need. So Ron can answer any other questions you might have.
If anybody has any questions for Ron, ask away. Go, Counselor Bozard.
What was the 44,000?
Individual water and sewer increasing up to a flat $600.
Okay, I
Yes,
saw
sir.
it.
Thought you'd be happy about that.
Yeah, sure, I see that great.
Anything else? Yes, Counselor Crittenden.
All right, so water and sanitation, right here, Paul's right there.
Yes.
All right. Now, so it's 44,000, that's just gonna be, what they said,
Individual water and sewer.
All right, so that'll help waiting on the IHS money.
Yes, yes, it will.
All right. Now, what about just the pumping the septic tanks? Different times I've called and just either no money for it or that's a big concern of mine. Just what funds do you draw from for that, for cases like that?
Do you have a count number that I can look at here? You got 30 of them here.
Which, are you talking, what's the name of the account you're talking about?
I'm just, I get a lot of calls for that and sometimes have a hard time getting it done.
Individual water and sewer?
Whatever pumping out a septic tank is when I call, and I get no quite frequently.
Well, our budget's pretty much flat. So we're going to have basically the same amount of money that we've had in the previous year. Sure.
Okay. The septic pumping paid out of the 10-10-431 budget. So this will help us respond to those quicker and take care of that backlog.
All right, that's exciting. Thank you, Billy.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else for Ron? Councilor Buzzard?
And that's where the $44,000 increase is added this year. Because it's more like, last year it was, well, it was like 44,000 to last year's budget. You mentioned something, Lacey, about housing rehab on that?
So with housing rehab being transferred to the housing authority
Okay,
now?
all right, I didn't hear that. Okay.
Okay, we all good on that budget? All right, thank you, Ron. We appreciate your time. Brings us to management resources. Saw Bruce Davis. Oh, I'm sorry, did it?
Well, human resources has no significant changes to this budget. Just slight increases needed, but.
Did you have a question?
I got one
Did you have a
question.
question for Marcia, or? Yes.
For Bruce's budget on the insurance money on the Arbor, is that money going to be directed back to Sequoia, or is he going to use it?
Sorry, insurance money on the what?
On the Arbor over at Sequoia that was hit. There's Bruce right there. Hey, Bruce, on the insurance money that's going to be put in your budgets for under facilities, is that money going to be directed back to Sequoia or the insurance settlement?
You're talking about the
Arbor
archway that fix that?
Yes.
I'm pretty sure that we'll fix it and take care of that. If there's any money left over, then that will go back to Sequoia.
Okay, that's what I want to hear.
Right.
All right, sounds good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Bruce? Councilor Crittenden?
Just some explanation of some of these line items here. Special projects.
Yes, sir. Sean, special projects are like when we have a dinner, a special project for a council person or any type of extra event that we have, like the holiday coming up or the Employee Appreciation Day, then especially we pay for food, anything use that food.
Management, resources, admin.
So this is an indirect cost budget, so this is going to likely be Bruce. Bruce and his administrative staff and their salaries and costs related to managing the entire department.
Planning and development, MRG.
And development,
That's the
emerging.
construction.
Yeah, so that's the construction side
That's
of
the
things.
construction side, all the projects that we have going, that's under planning and development.
And agriculture.
That would be natural resources. That would be GV's department. And everything that happens at Delawnagy and Bull Hollow projects, that would be under agriculture.
Delawnagy site there.
Yes.
All right. And thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Bruce? All right, you're off the hook.
You doing better, Bruce?
Yeah, I'm good.
Good to have you back.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, the next one we're gonna look at is commerce. I saw both Anna and Shay back there, so you got the A team. Good morning. Good morning.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have. Most of the changes in our budget are due to grants ending at the end of the year, and we've applied for replacement grants and are waiting to hear back on those, so.
Any questions? I guess just keep doing what you're doing, Anna.
All righty.
Good job.
Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Oh, okay, Anna, we got a
Oh,
late
no,
comer
no,
here.
no. I'm sorry.
Wanda?
No. I have a question. I'm sorry. I did, but it explained it.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Okay, so Marcia's up now. Any questions for human service?
So a couple of the major disputes of the day will move out. Truancy, dollars. Community Family Advocates, $20,000, and Elders in Need, $75,000.
Any questions there? Yes, Counselor Crittenden?
Our elders in need.
Need is the supplement that we give our elders twice a year. The first payment is $200, the second payment is $300. The increase is due because the people become eligible because of their age every year.
Heating stoves, I see 20,000.
That's under life.
All right, we could use more than that, couldn't we? Heating stoves, if it's the same kind of heat people call me about.
Yeah.
We could use some more there, right?
Sure.
That's a fault of mine not looking at this, because that is a real need. And so might try to work towards that this year.
So I think, Counselor, one of the additional purposes of housing accessibility is if there's an issue that can't be solved by another program, I mean, Marcia
Right.
doesn't have the money, it can move to that.
Good. And there's another place for our advocate talk, and I'm still adamant in Stillwell there that, and I'll be working for it every day. There's a need for another full-time advocate right there in human services. So I appreciate what you do, ma'am. You try hard every day, and
Thank you.
thank you.
I'm not the one that does the work, though. I give full credit to my staff.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Counselor Hatfield?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Okay, I have a question about the remediating juvenile truancy. Could you explain that to me, please?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Remediating juvenile truancy.
That is, the state sends us when there's a problem, and what we do is we'll talk to the families, we'll give them resources. Probably about 40% are in our jurisdiction. The other part is out of jurisdiction because it's the whole state.
Your state, what do you mean by state? Like what department, of justice?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Why do we not have, what about juvenile drug courts? Is that just something, and I probably need to do more research in that area, but why do we not have a need for that, or is that just something?
Well, that's just one of the needs Human Services has, you know.
Well,
it's
there's no money now.
Yeah.
But it says federal.
We had a similar program. The grant ran out, and but that we worked with the court.
Okay. I think you do a great job, Marcia, and I appreciate it. And one more question. The Community Youth Grant Program, and just being an at-large counselor, and I'm sure that most of our counselors are probably very aware of these programs because it is in their communities. but I'm just curious about now, would you explain that to me, please? Or explain to community grant. Youth grant program.
So the community youth grant, that is, there's two of them. There's the community youth grant and the community adult grant. The community youth grant helps people, and it's allocated by the council to, they do community service in their communities, and then we can help them. What the council thought was that, you know, if they needed to buy their class ring, or if they needed some help with some extra school clothes, and that's what they use the funding for.
Okay, thank you. You do a great job. Thank you. I appreciate it.
And then the adults, you know, they always have need a little extra money, especially those that live on fixed income.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions for Marcia?
Marcia, I have one comment. Appreciate all the good things that you do in your department. You're one of the, you know, I guess, most essential programs that we have here at Cherokee Nation, with all the burial, the housing, the elders, the heating stove, and all the basic essentials there. What I was going to ask is, where do we go to get information on our Cherokee members that make a request? Give you an example. Let's say John Doe makes a request. How can I look something up and see how many times Mr. John Doe has been helped, the amount he's been helped, and how many times they've been helped? I mean, that would really help my decision making, because our population is only going to grow. When I was started out with the Cherokee Nation, we had 25,000 in 1980. Okay, we're up to close to 400,000 now. Somehow we have to have a system where if I'm helping the same person over and over, then I need to know that. And who has that database that we can refer to?
As far as human services, we do.
As far as services to the Cherokee Nation?
That you'd have to go to each individual program. That is something we have probably talked about since Wilma Mankiller days, is that each program needs to know where, you know, you could type in my name and know that I went to Donated Foods, that I went to Career Services, that I'm working with housing.
Okay.
Maybe that doesn't give anything except that I'm there.
Well, it would help us in our decision. Mr. Secretary, maybe that's something that we could start compiling and get maybe a little work group to give us that information. When we make a call as council members, and you know, whether it's through your office or the chief or deputy chief's office or these various departments, it'd be good to say, well, we just helped this person, you know, 2 or 3 months ago. A lot of times we don't have that information. It'd be very helpful if we did.
Yeah, it would for everybody, I believe.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
You're welcome, sir. Councilor Crittenden?
Marcia, here a week or so ago on the community youth grant, I know that you quit handing out application. I mean, it's about time to do that. But how'd that money go? I know you're not sitting there asking for more, but I had a lot of kids ask me, of course, how did that money go? Because at one point there was don't hand out any more applications, and which made sense.
Yeah.
But just since we're talking about a budget here, that's a pretty big deal. Also, the adult assistance, that's, how does that go? I mean, you're not sitting there asking, so don't feel bad.
Well, right now, we still have some money in the budget. And we hope that, but you have to understand that a lot of these people, we don't give them a time frame. And so if they're going out, especially the elders, if they're going out and doing community work, it might take them until September 30th to get all that in. That's why I can't really answer that. On the youth, they wait till summer to do most of their so that's why you're out there that have already been working to get this, and all they need to maybe just a few more hours and they'll be finished instead of someone starting anew. I can't answer that. Right now we're okay. I don't know if tomorrow I'll get 150 apps in, you know, and have to make that decision.
We're kind of on the edge with that amount.
Yes.
I mean, not a comfortable feeling.
Yes.
Just, right. Thank you, Marcia.
Harley.
And I agree with what Councilor Byrd said. This data system has been needed ever since I've been here at the Cherokee Nation. Where you can't find out if the person has applied for housing, or applied for a heating stove, or applied for propane, light heat, unless you call that particular department. It shouldn't be that way. You know, we should be able to have a database, type in somebody's name, and it tells you exactly where that person's applied, what they have got, and stuff like that. Now, it costs a lot of money to do, but at some point in time, we need to bite the bullet and have that database brought up to date. It'd be easy to change addresses and change telephone numbers and stuff like that if you only have one place to go to.
Yep.
Here, you've got to go to 15 different departments to find out, you know, what they've got. The other thing is I know Councilor Byrd had brought this up before, about Cherokee speakers. How many do we have left? And I have yet to see it in anybody's budget to get that particular project done. And I think it's important that we know those information. So you may know Councilor Byrd, but I don't know where it is. I don't know who's doing it.
It'd be a guess. I was going to visit with the secretary after this and maybe go over the resolution that was passed at the Tri-Council. We had so many issues, not any more important in the language, of course, but I'm glad you brought that up, Councilor Buzzer.
Okay, that's my rant. Thank you.
I might go for a second. That would help me considerably, and Jack and myself, because that you're one of the top departments that I receive calls from the citizens, and probably Jack as well. And that way, you know, that would really help. And that way, we could just go right to the source instead of, you know, sometimes we have to make several calls, and you probably, if we had some information, maybe not receive as many calls, you know. I mean, that's important that we are open to that, and you know, answer questions, but there are just a lot of departments. So, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions? All right, thanks, Marcia. Okay, I assume government resources didn't have any significant changes to their budget, but Ms. Ketcher is here if anybody has any questions that they would like to address of her department. Why don't you just come up and let us look at you?
Gonna look at me, huh? Significant changes in it, was flatline budget.
Counselor Lay probably does.
When the applications, I guess they are, come in from high lines, pipelines, so forth to the nation, do they come to your office? Where do they come into?
Real estate services.
Real estate services, okay. Thank you.
Did you have something, Keith?
Yeah, at the CDI backlog project had 12,000 in it last year and 0 in it this year, so I assume that means the backlog's all caught up.
Yeah, it does.
I believe so.
And that was one-time funding that we
Yes.
received from the Interior. And so that was received a couple of years back, so you'll see the complete spend of that in 16.
Okay, thanks.
Is that all?
Yeah, back to Councilor Lay's question. So a request that comes to the tribe for easements, that would go to our realty department.
Yes.
But you're CC'd on it.
Pardon?
You're CC'd on it.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, that would be my question, who actually handles it? The request may come in to, I guess, Ginger, but if you will, and runs with it as far as not only our lands, but just coming through. They're supposed to do that. Apparently, sometimes they don't.
Here, let's hear what she's got to say.
Real estate service, those notifications always go to real estate services, and we handle those. Any easements are handled through real estate services.
Do you tie in with legal or with government? Or
Anytime we need their assistance, we always go to them. Yes.
When we get a notification like the High Line, apparently we didn't know about it, we didn't know about it. Of course, I think that predates you.
Yes.
But
The clean line, is that what you
clean, whatever it's called. I call it the High Line because it's going to be a great big high
Yes.
line. So and Jack may help me out.
Yes.
And And I'm just wondering how that works.
Let's go through Gary and
If I could get some,
Well, most of the Section 106 goes to natural resources, is that correct? Sheila Bird under the
Yes, she
Secretary of
does
Natural
receive
Resources.
notification as well, yes.
And
We'll
Sarah.
get it- We will get a copy of it, so will Sheila will get a copy of it, and generally the AD's office.
and what do we do?
So Sheila did the Section 106 for that project. That means they had to go in, they ask her, where are the sites all located along this line? We don't control their project, but they have to work with Indian tribes about what are they going to do if during construction they come across sacred objects or they disturb graves, and where are the areas located. You enter into programmatic agreements with federal agencies. It's not with Clean Line, but with the Department of Energy over how you're going to deal with those when they come up. And so she worked with the Department of Energy on those processes on our side, and that's all part of the Section 106 process, a regulatory bureaucratic sort of process that she was involved in, so that if they do find, it's not us approving the project, but us saying if they build it and they find objects, this is how we want to be treated. We want to be notified, we want to have an opportunity to be engaged in that. So that was a part of the process that Sheila handled from Cherokee Nation's side.
Do we have input on the route? Because we don't want it to go through certain cultural areas.
So they have to follow the rules on that sort of thing. They can't go through, if we have an area that we designate, we can show, hey, this is an important cultural site, and that can be a roadblock for them, that can prevent them from going the route that they want to go. But we can't tell them, you have to avoid this county, this is too important. I mean, you have to show a sacred site or some site that's important to Cherokee history. So you can influence it, but you can't, I can't dictate the route for something like that. And we don't approve the project, the feds approve the project.
And
I just want to add that, we have taken part in consultation documents and has had for quite a number of months. Also on this whole issue, this is an issue with many different fronts and many different moving parts. As this project approaches the Cherokee Nation, we are keeping all our avenues open. We are engaging in both on a legislative side, on a legal side, on a more and a consultation side through the Department of Energy. There may be a question of whether we had an adequate amount of consultation opportunities with DOE. But the fact is that we are very, very cognizant of this project. We know that it's going to have a major effect on the Cherokee Nation and Cherokee Nation citizens. And so, but again, it is a process that is fluid. And I just want to make that point.
as far as restricted or trust, and they say, we're just going through it, get out of our way, I mean, is that negotiated or?
They specifically routed around all trust land because they understood that was not going to happen. So they specifically went out of their way to change the route to avoid trust land wherever they could.
No, they didn't.
Councilor Warner?
Yes, ma'am, thank you. I just want to remind this council that before I was elected to this council, but Councilor Fulbright brought a resolution to this council that we are opposed to Clean Line Energy transmission line. So that's it. Thank you.
Councilor Thornton?
Yes, I think before they cross the Arkansas River, that is trust land. That river belongs to Cherokee Nation.
Of our strategies and our items that we will want to discuss, but you're absolutely right.
Yes.
The Arkansas riverbed is a major issue that.
Yeah, I know that when we had the bridge fail on I-40 Arkansas River, they could not, anyone go in there and work on that until they got an okay from Cherokee Nation as council. So you want to keep that in mind because they can't just cross over that bridge, that river.
And
they are going over grave sites. There's no doubt about that.
Absolutely.
On the property that they're, on the route that they're going. So I'm not for it at all. Just where I stand. But, of course, the people are for it that's receiving the paychecks. It's for the property that they're crossing. Some of them are and some of them aren't. So I think we need to keep a good watch on that and see what's going on, because there's no way they can cross that river that this Cherokee Nation says they can cross it. That's the way I look at it. Thank you, sir. Ma'am?
Any other questions for Ms. Ketcher? Okay, if not, we'll move along. Gaming Commission would be next. I see Jamie back there. Yes. Right in.
Whatever the pleasure of the council.
Narrative.
The change here is a $177,000 increase to pay for the 2 new employees that he needs for growth, as well as $30,000 for fingerprinting.
The increases for FY17 are directly tied, or mostly tied back to the addition of the grow facility that will be coming on later this year. In addition to that, as Treasurer Horn mentioned, we are nearing the end of life for some of our fingerprinting technology that is out there. We've had these machines out there for a little over 5 years. They're starting to show their wear and tear, so we're wanting to get those units replaced. And they're not necessarily the cheapest pieces of equipment, but they do have a fairly long, useful life, given the fact that we process over 2,000 fingerprints, approximately 2,000 fingerprints a year. We used to travel with these. Now we have on-site offices, so we're hoping to extend that useful life out a little bit more past the 5 years than we currently have.
Okay. I think Councilor Warner had a question or a comment.
Thank you. Besides Grow, Jamie, any other gaming positions open currently?
Right now, we have a senior auditor that has been just advertised. We have a licensing agent at our Roland facility that's being advertised, as well as a gaming agent at our West Alum Springs location.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody else have questions for Jamie?
I did.
Councilor Buzzard, go ahead.
Jamie, I know I asked about the licensing or the amount we pay Tulsa.
Yes.
Are we still making those payments to?
Yes, those payments are still being made. The terms under the compact for Fair Meadows, I believe is what you're referring to. Yes, those payments are still being made, and I think the agreement is still valid as long as Fair Meadows conducts racing at that location, or at least provide simulcast. It was rumored that they were not going to do that, but I believe they have extended their seasons of racing for another couple of years, so they'll continue to be made for the foreseeable future.
And that's where you brought it up, because I've heard they were going to cancel simulcast.
Yeah, we had heard the same thing, but apparently that was just rumor. The operations are still going to go on for the next couple of years, for all I know.
Now, is that that's not a compact, it's just an agreement?
It is a part of the compact that in exchange for Fair Meadows not having any machines there, that there is a payment that is made by the 3 tribes in the area, so the Cherokees, the Creeks, and the Osages have a pro rata share of the monthly amount that goes into that, and that's based on the number of machines that are operated by each tribe.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Any other questions? All right. It's legal.
Very much.
Okay, Lacey, there's not on my little cheat sheet here, there's not a change for IT, but do you want to speak to their changes?
Sure. This is an increase of $315,000 for IT, and how we kind of handle indirect cost pool changes for departments is kind of handle them on a little bit of a round robin basis, and it's just IT's turn. So John can probably speak better to the need that he's had for a couple of years, but you know, we kind of have to just wait till everybody's turn comes up. So
the last time we had a readjustment of all of our salaries was in 2004, so we've not had a reclassification for 12 years.
This responsibility.
Okay. Councilor Walkenstick?
Hey, Mason, that's across the board, right, what he just talked about.
a lot of people haven't had their salaries reevaluated, readjusted over the past 12 years. I guess you work with Mason on this.
Worked directly with HR for almost a year.
Is it just up to the directors to lobby for this, or is this across the board for all of our employees?
Departments can put in a request to look for the market, but we're also at HR developing a plan to systematically start looking at them within a certain time period. We may go on a 2-year cycle, but if something comes up, the department can also ask to have a area looked at. And this one had not been adjusted, I believe, in quite some time.
So if he wouldn't have said anything, they would have stayed the same.
Unlikely. I've asked for a couple years, but they've just now gotten the time to help me, because there again, it took me a year to rewrite all my job descriptions, build the career letters in there, and get the pay up to where it should be equal to the rest of the market.
Well, it's a note to the directors, follow Mr. James' lead here. If you guys know employees that haven't had a pay raise, Nathan, appreciate it. Mr. James, you guys heard the council members talk about a universal system, a database collecting for our constituents on what kind of services that they've received. I know you're in the technology world, and you're probably more familiar with this than we are. But as the speaker was saying, is there some way that you could go and start researching out and finding a database or program that would meet those needs, that could tap into everyone's department
We've got
service?
a database set up. It's a structure, it's not the front ends. The structure's already set up. We've had it in place for around 6 to 8 years. Some departments are already on there, not all departments. Obviously, there's resistance to change, right?
Yes.
They've got their own system in each department.
Yeah.
We've got the ones that we can get on the database there now, but there's some that are pretty dug in, pretty deep with what they've already got. So it's been a challenge to try to get people migrated into that system.
So we already have a database in place. Our directors aren't using it.
That's pretty much, yeah.
That's
All right.
called legislation, David.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Abel. What's the name of the program? The database?
Registration's in one of them. We call it CN Core 2, because we've had, a long time ago, we had CN Core. We rewrote the CN Core 2 to help out with the last known good address problem that we've had. That's in place. It's been there for quite some time. Some departments, like I said, are already on there.
Okay.
I can give you a list of all of them if you want.
If you would, that'd be, like I said, it sounds like legislation's coming in play. CN Core 2.
CN Core 2 is the name that our name that we've given it. It's more of a customer relations management deal. We've got different types of front ends that we can program depending on the need and how fast we need to get it up. I've brought one to the steering committee before. It's called really Microsoft CRM. So it's kind of like an analytics engine. So we plan on viewing that, demoing it. We've done some proof of concept with the tag office. They can build that database up real quick.
Really?
CRM.
Mr. James, those are good words. Thank you, sir. All right, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. James? Okay, keep up the good work.
All right, thank you.
Counselor Garvin, we say we break for lunch.
I make a motion we break for lunch.
Let's do that. Okay, we're gonna break, be back at 1 o'clock. That should give us time to go through our emails and stuff like that. Okay? All right.